What's up, core reporters? Welcome back to my channel. I have finally started watching TLC's new show, Match Me Abroad. I was like, Grace, you live abroad, you date across like different cultures and countries and this, that, and the other. Like, this is a show meant for you, and you date in different languages as well, right? So why not watch the show? And I gotta say, I'm only one episode in so far. I've got the second one loaded up, so I will be watching it after this. I'm pretty hooked already. Like, it seems like a fun kind of 90-day fiance before the 90 days. Not just before the 90 days, but before. Because before the 90 days of 90-day fiance, they've already met someone. But here, they haven't met anybody. And it's interesting, especially this Harold guy. I feel like I'm going to be rooting for him because he just seems so pure, you know? So let's start off with the first person that they introduced us to. I've been seeing clips of this show on TikTok, and I gotta say, I have never seen Susan pop up. So I was surprised when they decided to lead with her story, because typically they lead with like the most interesting stories. And I was like, well, this girl, she's not even like, out there making a buzz on social media. I typically see Stanika. She's the number one person I see, Harold being the number two person. I think there are other people. There's that guy who wants to go to Morocco to find a young girl to go 50-50 with, which is kind of funny. He hasn't been introduced in episode 1, but that sort of a thing, right? So let's get into Susan anyway. So she is 50 years old. She is from New York, and she was married once in her life for only 3 years, very young, from the age of 23 to 26, to a man who was a medical student at the time. She's decided that she wants to look for love in Colombia with a man who is financially stable with a head full of hair. I think that that's pretty fair to ask for in Colombia. I think that she can find a financially stable older man or even a younger man. You never know. She does look good. She's been into Botox for several years now, and it's been working. And her list is only comprising 2 things, right? So I do think that she should be able to find that. I don't know if she speaks Spanish. I hope she speaks at least a little bit. Like, we saw her land in Colombia, but the guy was speaking to her in English. So I didn't, and it was like very minuscule, the interaction that I got to see of her with the people. One thing that drives me nuts about Americans dating internationally on these shows is that they never bother to learn the language of where they're going. To me, if I wanted to go move to Colombia to date a man, I would be like, okay, I got to learn Spanish because I want to know this person 100%, and like to fit into their life there and like get along with their family and friends. I don't want someone playing translator for me, right? And Spanish is a relatively easy language to learn, especially when you live in the US, where it's pretty much the unofficial second language of the country, New York, no less. Like, come on, you guys, please. And then you've got Stanika, who wants to go to Morocco, and French is one of the languages of Morocco. And again, it's a very, like, as far as languages go, I consider it to be an easier language to learn just because of the volume of content that is out there to help you consume it and learn it. For example, in my case, I learned French and Spanish in like 2 years total. Okay, both languages. Like, my French is at near perfect fluency, and my Spanish is conversational. Okay, so like, it can be done, and it's really not that hard, to be honest with you. If you're dedicated and whatnot, and like you're serious about this, I think that you should learn the language of the country where you want to date. You don't want to be looking like an idiot everywhere you go with everyone translating for you because you cannot be bothered to make the slightest effort. I don't understand how these people do that, but I digress. Anyway, the next person that we meet is Harold. Harold is a 41-year-old man who happens to be autistic, and he's from New Mexico. He recently moved out from his parents' home because he was a starving artist. And, I think that that's awesome. He seems really like, pure, and just, I really like his vibe, to be honest with you. He's looking to find love in the Czech Republic because he's heard that Eastern European women are blunt and dominant. He doesn't really understand nuance, so that's why he prefers a blunt woman, and he considers himself to be a passive person, so he's looking for his opposite in a more dominant woman. Listen, I am nervous for him. I don't want to say anything inflammatory about Eastern European women, but I kind of feel like Harold is a little bit innocent. I feel like he's kind of like a guppy jumping into a shark pond potentially with what it is that he's looking for versus where he's at in his life. I think that unfortunately he might be vulnerable to Is it exploitation to being used hardcore, let's say? Okay. I think that that is something that he needs to watch out for. But I do wish him the best, of course. I think he's sweet with his little suspenders, the different ones every single time. So his bed, for example, like he's got this like childlike innocence to him. Like they show his bedroom as he's talking to his mom, showing her around his first apartment ever. And it looks like it was a bunk bed, and then they removed like the top bunk, like this sort of like little like kind of minor things to him. And like, for example, he's got like 10 notebooks of all of these invention ideas and whatnot. This is an example of one of them. And so he's been patenting these, and he thinks he's going to get rich off at least one of them one day. Like there's going to be a windfall coming. I'm not saying it's not possible. It's just, these are the kind of qualities where you're like, it's sweet and everything, but be careful, because you are trying to go to a country where a lot of people are poor or don't have much money and like can be savage in order to try to build a better life for themselves. So just be careful, like I do get nervous for him. For example, there was a scene, this is where he wears these like yellow suspenders that look like measuring tape. He goes to the lawyer to see if he can get a prenup for an imaginary wedding because he hasn't even met the imaginary bride yet. You know what I mean? And not only that, he wants to protect imaginary money that he doesn't have either, right? Like there's a lot of like things missing here with this man. It was a funny scene for that reason, because it's like, so what are you at the lawyers for? You're paying him for nothing. You've got nothing to get a prenup for. No money and no fiance and no wedding coming up. So what are you really doing? You know what I mean? Like it was just so, oh my God, right? Like, come on now, Harold. Now, the last person that we meet in episode 1 is named Stanika. I gotta say, I love her vibe. She seems really lovely. And I like the story that she was telling about like having struggles with her weight and whatnot. Apparently, she used to weigh almost 300 pounds, and now she weighs 180 something thanks to weight loss surgery. And so she has, struggled with self-esteem and just like eating and whatnot. So I thought it was brave of her to open up about that. She lives in Jackson, Mississippi. And she has never, ever been in a long-term relationship in her life. She's 32 years old. So, which I find quite like fascinating. I think a lot of people forget that there are women like this. There's so much light being shed on like men not dating and becoming incels and becoming violent. And it's the fault of women because they're not giving them a chance. Our standards are too high. But there are women who also are not dating or are not, finding lovers and this, that, and the other. But we're not, shooting up schools because we're frustrated with it or this, that, or the other, or becoming violent, right? So that was something that definitely stuck up to me there. She's looking to find a man in Morocco because one of her friends is dating a Moroccan since a long time, and she has watched her friend be treated like a queen by her boyfriend. And so she now believes that all Moroccan men are like this, which, all right, girl, it's just such a very innocent way to view the world. You know what I mean? Like you saw one guy who happens to be from this country treat his girlfriend right. And you're like, yeah, all men from this country treat their women right. Like, I don't know. All these people are a little naive, if not very naive. You know what I mean? She's like, American men, they're players and they don't treat you that well, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, that happens around the world, right? There's goods and bads everywhere. So one thing I will say, though, is that her family seemed open-minded enough when she announced to them that she wanted to go to Morocco to find a man. I think, listen, when you've seen like your family member look for love for like so many years, never even find a single relationship to be in, you got to say, okay, I could see why she wants to go abroad to try to see if she has better luck in a different country. I hear a lot of stories, so I'm not American, but I hear a lot of stories about, the way Black women feel in the dating market in the US and whatnot. And I feel like if that applies to you, then look elsewhere. I totally encourage it. You know what I mean? Morocco might be a good fit. I don't know. I've never dated in Morocco. I've never lived in Morocco. I've only visited, and I visited with someone I was dating at the time. So I didn't get, you know what I mean? I don't know what they're like towards Black women or this, that, and the other. I have no idea, but I am excited to watch it through her. Although I don't think it's going to be a realistic depiction because number one, like she's going to attract men who want to be on TV. And it's seeming, all of these relationships are seeming to be green card arrangements. You know what I mean? They're going to attract a certain type of guy who's looking to escape his life somewhere. So I don't think we're going to see genuine, you know what I mean, interactions, this, that, and the other with the TV taking place and all that. But I am going to be interested to see how that goes, right? her family did have some preconceived notions that in Morocco, men can take multiple wives, and so they're worried that she's going to end up part of a harem or whatever. So just some different things, but overall, they're like, "Listen, we're going to support you," which I think is the most important thing that they could do at the end of the day. And I'm looking forward to seeing how episode 2 goes. I'm about to watch it after I upload this video, of course. But yeah, let's stay posted on this journey together, guys. Okay, make sure to follow along to this channel, subscribe if you want more videos on Match Me Abroad and other reality shows in general as well. Who are you rooting for so far on the show? Without any spoilers, please let me know in the comments. Bye.